The boys are back and they're ready to go. Hearing too much trash on the radio.
This Adam Joad of Scattered Hamlet.
The boys are back.
Let's rock. Canadian style.
And they're ready to go. Hearing too much trash on the radio.
How you doing?
Good, man. It's early.
Yeah, the rockstar life, right?
I don't know, man. Yeah, something like that. This past year's better shit. Almost a year and a half. It's been kind of odd. So yeah, it's a different bit of adjustment, you know.
Hey, I'm digging the guitars in the background.
Oh yeah, I got some of those ones I use most often. I can't pick the computer up, but they're all around the room over there. I have the one I track with over there. I keep them like where I can grab them. You know, those are like my live ones.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'll take a couple.
Yeah, it's like a whole karaoke machine. It's like I can play at stage volume, like on my rigs over there, and it's like has a PA system all around. So like I can sit in the middle. You can see my guitar board there, and then like I can practice at stage volume, basically just kind of play along to myself or whatever the hell I'm listening to at the time. I was just listening to Johnny Thunders.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's fun.
So it's been a long time. Welcome back to Let's Rock.
Thanks, brother. How you been?
Well, it's been a weird couple of years.
That would be the understatement.
I mean, it's not so bad for most people. I mean, we can work from home, but you guys.
Man, I just was going through this. I was talking to, it's entertainment in general. One of my buddies is a pro wrestler, and he was going through the same shit. Like last night we were, he and I were texting back and forth about that. And yeah, and it doesn't matter what size your band is. Like, it's everybody. It's everybody's. It's altered their existence somehow. Like even the people at the top of the food chain, I call them, because they're. If you're at the top of the food chain, it takes like, it takes them a lot longer to set up tours than like us, for example, like it could take a year to set up some, like arena level things. So, when I talk to, friends that are doing stuff on that level, it's the same, like they're looking way further down the road. Like for people like us, it comes back, a little faster because we obviously don't, need that kind of lead time, but yeah, it's something.
It's definitely strange. I was just reading about the Motley Crue tour with Def Leppard and Poison and Joan Jett, and how long it's taking to get that thing back rescheduled and out on the road.
Yeah, it's crazy with like then they're and every place. That's the other thing people run into, like every state or venue, like everybody has like different policies for like, and it's hard to keep track of, like everything. Like, so I see artists dropping off things and do it, and everybody, it's all fucking politicized and shit. So it's a shit show. It's like,
but you did do some shows a while ago.
Yeah, we went out. Good. We went out in late July, early August, so that was like our first time back in a while. We went out with Anna Mordum, and, we played a different, like we played throughout like Texas, the Midwest. Like we did a festival up in what was it called? It was Rock Fest. That's Wisconsin, I believe, or Minnesota. I get them confused, but yes, it was there. And so we kind of stayed in that area. We stayed out of like, Los Angeles, like big cities and things like that, where like New York City, not that we've ever caught on big in New York City anyway, but
give it time. Give it time. It'll be there.
I tell you what, every time we go into like Manhattan, it goes better than I think it would. It's one of those. They usually go pretty good. It's just such a clusterfuck getting into the city with a trailer, and it's back when I used to play in punk bands and I was a wee Joad. We'd play in like the city in like the punk places. And, but back in those days, we could fit everything like in one van. We didn't have a trailer. We couldn't afford anything like that, or the equipment to fit in a trailer, so it was a little easier then. But now, you got to park that shit.
Oh yeah, man. In New York City, come on.
Yeah, you get this giant, like, ridiculous, church van looking thing that, we're behind a trailer. And, it's like, I can't parallel park very well anyway, like you put this whole like rig and,
Well, listen, man, new album is coming out, what, October 22nd?
No, November 12th is the, we had November 12th, the full album. We did October, last Friday we did All Talk, and then September we released Stereo Overthrow. So we've done 2 singles ahead of the album coming out on the 12th.
So it's November 12th. I had read October 22nd.
Yeah.
Interesting. I listened to it this morning.
I read last night that we were a Swedish band. So.
Hey, right on.
Yeah,
congratulations.
I just read that last night. They're like, these guys look like rednecks from America, but they're really Swedish. I'm like, I don't know where the fuck that came from.
Man, take whatever you can get, right?
Yeah, whatever. Like,
I listened to the album this morning. It is heavy. It is good. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I was mad when I wrote most of it, so it's kind of like I channel my New York hardcore and that kind of stuff.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of angry music coming out in the next little while. I don't think it's a very happy time for people. There's no butterflies and flower music coming out soon.
No, man, it's been a long time since I could honestly say, like that I was angry enough to write about it, like probably since, like you said, like we were just talking about, like since my punk rock days, like it's been, a minute, and I don't like to be faux angry, like either are or you aren't, like, and it's, so there's definitely an anger, about like just how things were with the music industry and, just everything, just in general.
Absolutely. How did this work, the recording? Because of the lockdown, were you able to record together or was it remotely done?
Actually, this album was recorded before we did the EP that we put out last year. So we had this tracked. We tracked this right before COVID, mostly live, in Nashville, and we tracked it, did most of the live stuff. And then we ended up, when COVID hit, our manager suggested we shelf the album, and so I was like, we didn't want to shelf it. We'd been sitting on it, for a while. Everything's so slow. So we put out an EP that we did track we didn't track it remotely, but we did that in a different setup. And then, during the time we were doing that, we did a lot of remixes on this album because there was a couple different ways, since we recorded it raw and live, we didn't necessarily want to put it out that way on Spotify because no one else, while we think it's cool, the average listener, doesn't really like that. So we remixed it, so we, put the modern production on it. In that time, we also got a new guitar player, Sean, and he was doing some really cool stuff on the song. So we're like, well, I was like, well, fuck, if we're not going to put it out, I'm going to have you cut some stuff, that we can put it, so we, we went in there and, cut it, put some, his guitar tracks on it and stuff. And that's how the album came out. So that happened remotely, but, the bulk of the album, was done with us in a room. But, Sean got to do his stuff, in a room by himself because he wasn't even in the band whenever we recorded it. But yeah, Sean Shepperd is our full-time guitar player. Now he and I are both handling the guitar duties for now. And we change how we handle how many people are in the band all the time. Like we're like fucking P-Funk or something,
Good one. Now listen, you pull no punches on this song, Stereo Overthrow. And on one of your Facebook posts, I'm going to read this so I don't mess it up. You wrote, the song is about the trend chasing mediocrity loving music business and the desperately needed rebellion against them and the cookie cutter garbage they love to shove down your throat.
Yeah.
So how do you really feel?
That's good. No, a lot of this album was a response to how the industry treated us with Swamp Rebel Machine. You know, when we started playing the label game, you know, we showed them Swamp Rebel Machine, and all the labels were like, you know, this doesn't really sound like what's on active rock right now. Or like, yeah, it's like, why would you want to sound exactly like, you know, something else? But that's exactly what they wanted. And so they pitched me this horrible idea, a label that I won't mention. They wanted me to get rid of the band, sit down with a team of their writers so we could come up with catchy radio. So we're going to be working with 5 writers so we can make basically, they're like, you know, some more Southern tinged radio rock. And I was like, so are you trying to say like you want to mix our style with like, you know, and put it like in a more Nickelback kind of thing? And they're like, yeah, you got it, man. And they're like, do you want to do it? And I was just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to scrap the whole album. And, you know, hey, no offense to Nickelback. So it's like, but I don't see the need to copy something else that's already successful. And that's what they want. They don't want to look outside the box at something that could be different, you know, like they want it to fit in this mold. And I call them algorithm bands. Like if you don't pop on the algorithm on Spotify or whatever to sound exactly like something, they don't really want anything to do with it, because that's, you know, how they're making their money. And you know, and the problem with the algorithm bands is you know, nobody knows who they are. You know, people, that's what I call like mediocrity. And like, you know, they shove to you, you know, like they're going to pop up on your playlist that your average personers listen to. And the average person doesn't even know who that band is. They just know that it fits into that format. So it does nothing. The band makes no impact on them. It's just like background noise, almost like a cover band. If you walk into a bar and there's just like some dude playing like his acoustic guitar in the corner, he's playing like Dave Matthews or something. People don't even know he's there. They're not paying attention, you know, and that's kind of what they're pushing, which for a band, I mean, you know, if you think about it, like, I listen to like, Tom Kiefer. I had this conversation with him once, name drop, because I won't take his idea, but he once mentioned that, like if you take like 80s bands, as soon as the singer comes in, you immediately know who they are. Boom, you know who that is. I was like, oh, that's freaking Doggin. That's Vince Neil. That's you know, whoever. And even through the 90s that progressed. And then eventually, I don't know if when Flood Pants Metal came along or something, like that all like the voices became almost interchangeable. And then if you combine that with very like stringent like technology made music where, you know, you're using robot amplifiers and everything, it becomes really stagnant. Like a lot of the swing and the things that I like about the different bands aren't there anymore. And that's exactly what they want. That was my pitch. That's what the record industry, you know, wanted to do with us. And I just didn't want to. I was like, I don't care if I don't have a million Spotify plays or whatever, you know, we'll just keep selling records and have people come to our shows, and that it's better for the band anyway. Yeah.
It is kind of like the 80s though. I mean, that's what they wanted in the 80s. Everybody had to sound the same, right?
Yeah. And the same thing happened then, you know, which then grunge came over. You know, once everything became a copy of a copy, then something comes along and takes it out, you know. And unfortunately, I mean, everything they're trying to give us to take it out isn't really. I mean, you know, like they're, you know, what it like, no offense, but like, you know, you get your like Machine Gun Kelly or something like, and they're putting that on like rock festivals, and the people that are watching the rock bands they're not really going for that. You know, it's like there's, right. You know, they don't like it. You know, it's now he brings his whole own audience, but you know, the combination of trying to like blend things together, I don't know. It's I just think there's a niche. People want it. People pay for it. People go see it over and over again. It's like, why wouldn't you at least try to, you know, give folks what they actually want? You know?
I don't think people know what they actually want anymore.
You're not wrong with that either. So they go to something more familiar, you know, because, you know, you're not going to push something that's a little, different, or unless it's like exactly like something else. That's another one I don't get. Like, you know, when somebody makes a new band and it sounds exactly like it, one that was already successful or iconic, and that's kind of weird too, it's like the whole
I kind of blame Green Day, and as much as I love Green Day, I think they're great. Everybody tried to sound like Billy Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Green Day begots a bunch of, a grown up punk rocker, like, and going in that scene. I hated that fucking 90s pop punk, man. Like that shit. And Green Day is a good garage rock band as far as I'm concerned. And Billy Joe's a phenomenal songwriter. I don't know him personally, but that's not, to me, that was just their own thing. That really wasn't what punk rock and rebellious to me. I never, I wasn't like, when I watched freaking Henry Rollins or like Iggy Pop, like I was legitimately scared of those guys as a kid. Like, these were terrifying people. That's not you're not looking at like Billy Joe, like, and you weren't necessarily scared of him when you were going, like, it wasn't like, and then that started like, you get into like your Blink 182s and that with that really like whiny nasally voice. And I just, again, it's just not for me,
Right. Nothing wrong with the bands, just not your style.
Now, Rancid, they came out in that era, and I think they're fucking geniuses. To me, that was a perfect blend of that modern kind of punk sound, and they still were like a street punk band. Like I just saw them in August, and I was like, fuck yeah, I was very excited about it. So I'm a big fan of those guys.
Your sound is really interesting, and we've talked about this before. I really, what do you call it? Hillbilly Southern. What is your explanation for it?
Fuck. I've been like if somebody doesn't know, like, I'm walking around, I don't know, at the supermarket, like, hey bro, you in a band? Yeah. Somebody said you're in a band. Yeah. What does it sound like? What do you play? I'm like, what do you play? What fucking kind of question? Are you asking us what kind of music instrument? But anyway, I've got to the point where I'm just like, we kind of sound like a cross between Motorhead and Molly Hatchet. That's what I tell people. And we listen to punk. And we listen to punk music. So we're essentially a punk band in a way, but you can't really say that because as soon as you mention the word punk, like it conjures up I don't know, like different kind of things. Like, it might be close to like Sex Pistols or like Johnny Thunder's punk, but not like Black Flag. I don't know.
Right. But yeah, there is a lot of punk on here. I noticed that when I was listening to it today. I could see the punk influence in it. But there's also something that a lot of other bands don't have. And I'm not sure if this is just the videos or the actual album, but there's the humor aspect of it. And I think this is something that's missing from rock and roll, is having a good time, being fun.
Right.
And the new videos for Stereo Overthrow and All Talk, they're hilarious, man. They're great.
I appreciate that. That's what we want to do. Like, we're sitting back and we're like, you know what? The album's pretty serious. Like, we're pretty angry. The album kind of speaks for itself. And we're like, you know what? Are we really going to make like an angry set of videos to reflect all that? Or are we going to kind of do something more fun? And during that lockdown, I was watching that Eddie Murphy's, They Call Me Dolomite, like where he's giving a rod to Rudy and those guys. And, then of course I went back and watched the old Dolomites and stuff. And I was like, yes, we need to make we're going to kind of take on Dolomite, but I'm going to make it kind of like a funny version of like that record label story I told you, so it's based on a true story. And then All Talk, I don't know, man. We just were like, what if we had Power Wheels cars? I was like, I want an A-Team van, and we ended up like racing those. And so that had no, because the song obviously is all talk and no action. So we're like, we need to be competing, doing something. And so first we're like, it could be pro wrestling. We thought about that, and then we teamed up with these down in West Virginia. They're called Burning Bulb Productions, and they do like different kind of movie, all independent movies, horror movies and stuff like that. And I've worked with them in the past, helping with scores and stuff. And so I was like, now we're getting these guys because they know, like they're really good at that campy kind of, stuff. And so that's why we figured we do 2 videos like that and see, how they went. And, people seem to enjoy them. So that's what I want to
really fun. And I think the death metal war paint might be a look for you guys in the future.
It's like 90 degrees where give it up to those guys, man. I know why they live in like Nordic countries, because like in the heat in the summer, it's like we're out there like black. I mean, I did have a mesh shirt on. That was somewhat all right. But like, your makeup's like melting, and there's like the folks helping us with the makeup are like, don't touch your makeup, which is a foreign concept to me because I don't wear makeup.
I've always wondered that. How do the guys in Kiss make it through a 2-hour show without touching their face?
They've probably just been doing it so long, yeah. Kiss,
man, if I was Paul Stanley, my star would be all over my face.
Yeah, he knows. He's like, he tells you. I felt really bad. His longtime guitar tech, who was very nice to us, just passed away recently of COVID, and that was kind of a heartbreaking thing. Like, that was pretty. I don't know if anybody's seen that.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it was pretty terrible. I had met. Dude was so cool when I met him. He, talk. I'm asking so many questions because I'm a Kiss fan. I'm like, okay, now on the Shocker guitar, now on this guitar. Like the dude's just, he was let me here. No. Hold this. I'm like, oh my God, this is the Shocker guitar. This is the cracked mirror, Paul Stan. So dude is super cool, and I just found out he passed. And
that's a shame.
Yeah.
They were one of the last bands I saw before this whole lockdown thing up in Ottawa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really good show.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says, man. They put on a great show.
They always do. There's all the people that are. Look, I like watching Motley Crue shows, and Vince Neil's all over the fucking place. I mean, I'm not gonna put it out and be like, yeah, Vince killed it, but it doesn't matter. Like, it's the Crue. That's what he does, and I'm all right with that. It's
just have fun and put on a good show. That's all. That's what it's about.
Yeah, you don't have to hit everything. Like, like I said, when I was watching, when I watch Rancid, watching Tim Armstrong play guitar, the dude's performing, he's not like the most technically proficient guitar player that hits every note or whatever, but like dude's putting it all out there. People are into it. And, I'm not, I give it up to bands like Rush and stuff that like when this guys are from another planet. I don't know. Geddy came down from another planet and they can sound live exactly like they do on a record and stuff. And that's great that they do that. And what's great about them doing it is that they're actually doing it. A lot of the modern bands that do that are doing it with backing tracks and all kinds of bullshit. And then it sounds like a recording, I still want it to sound like a live band. And, hey, we're not Rush, nobody, we can't.
Well, okay. As a Canadian, there's no one like Rush.
No, there's no one like Rush.
No.
I mean, they landed in Canada, but like I said, they came from like Planet Rock somewhere else, like Galaxy, and landed. I was at one of my buddies is a pro wrestler. He's from Canada, and he and I have been talking like, and my knowledge of Canada is very stereotypical U.S. knowledge, but I think all the things that I associate with Canada are very awesome, and like, and I'm always like telling him about stuff, and like I associate like. Death Hunt with Charles Bronson, like that's one of the greatest movies of all time as far as I'm concerned. And I love Trailer Park Boys. I like list of my stereotypes going. Bryan Adams is one of my favorite artists of all times. Like I think Triumph rules. Like there's so many amazing.
Oh, dude, I just chatted with the drummer from Triumph last week.
Oh no shit! It's
shit.
So good, man. Yeah, like that. There's so many awesome things. Like so these are my yes. I'm a big. Actually, Nate, who played with Scattered Hamlet for a long time, he's back in Canada, but he was one of our guitar players for years, and one of my favorite guitar players actually, and he lives in Canada as well. So he was, so these are my Canadian.
We're not so bad up here, man. We got some shit going on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Right.
That's why Rush landed there, man. That's why they right.
Darn right. In fact, I have a dog sitting right next to me right now. I don't know if you can see him.
Oh, nice.
That's Geddy.
Oh, Geddy. Hell yeah. My dog's he doesn't come down to the studio. He's sitting up. So he can barely get down the steps. He's like a little fat pug. So.
Pugs are awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of guitar players, tell us about this new guy, Sean.
Sean, yeah. Sean's great.
He's badass, first of all. Sounds good on the new album.
Yeah, he's good, man. He has a real good like lyrical quality. I'm a big he's a good songwriter and singer actually too. And what I find is that comes out like when you're playing leads and countering off the stuff that I do, you know, it kind of elevates the song instead of like just wanking for the sake of wanking just because you have that extra gear. It's like, yeah, he's got the extra gear, but he's also was playing what the songs needed. And that's cool. It, you know, cause I typically play more, I have an unorthodox, you know, staccato kind of, you know, bare bones sort of approach, except the slide, you know, I do my own thing on that, but and what he does really kind of brings out a little bit more of the melodic components, I think anyway. It sort of makes it all, you know, more cohesive, and he's great. You know, it's been fun for the next album. You know, he and I've been already writing, you know, and firing ideas back and forth, which has been pretty cool.
Nice. And where does your rhythm playing come from? Who are the big rhythm players that influenced you for the kind of style you have?
You know what? I'll tell you who influences me. I won't say that I play anything like them, but like I marvel at Izzy Stradlin. Like you know, I mean, of course, Malcolm Young, every rhythm guitar player is like Malcolm Young. Yeah, obviously, you know, he's in the pocket master. You know, I'm not, I can get off track real fast, and I can look over there and get fucking off. Not Malcolm, he's in there, but like I really liked how Izzy played off Slash. You know, he's doing his thing, Izzy's doing his thing, and it makes it like it's awesome.
He never leaves me alone, this dog.
But yeah, like, you know, so how they kind of play off each other, I always thought that was really cool. Or sometimes whenever like the rhythm and the lead are mixed and you don't know who, somebody might play a lead line, like Aerosmith does that. You take Brad Whitford and you know, Joe Perry, and it's like who's playing lead, who's playing rhythm sometimes, you know, like the lines can get blurred, you know, Ronnie Wood and, you know, Keith Richards, you know, those kind of guys. Like, I just like the weaving of it, you know, like instead of saying strictly like, this is the lead guitar player, this is the rhythm guitar player, it's like there's just two guitar parts. And, you know, I typically play the more simplistic part, but sometimes I don't, you know, like the weird, if you take like the song on the new album that our blues song, the what the hell is the name of it? Low Class Blues or whatever. You know, like I play the weird hammer on like riff on that, while the other guy plays more of the traditional one. So, you know, which is the rhythm, which I don't know, man. You know, it's just like I just played that part because it's really weird, and I was watching Peter Green videos and decided that we needed to channel the power of Peter Green and put it in a song, and that's where that came from. So yeah, I don't know, man. You know, but you know, in terms of who takes the 8 bars or whatever and actually plays the smoking lead, that's Sean all day. You know, like that's not where I don't shine there. You know, I'll take a couple during our set, but like my brain really doesn't think like that. And you know, and I kind of and again, I joined a band, could play no instruments, and it was a punk band, and then ended up playing guitar. So, you know, I keep filling in holes that I probably should have known about like a lot earlier. Like I might be able to do this, but I might have missed this step and skipped over here. So like my guitar playing is a little odd, you know.
That's the best kind of guitar playing, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's my brother, who's like a very accomplished guitar player. It's hilarious. Like he'll be listening, you know, and he was down here with me the other day, and I was playing something that we came together, and he's like, he goes, you know, it sounds like you're in like a minor Dorian, and he's going like on and on. I'm like sitting here like looking at him. I was like, I don't know, that's an Iron Maiden part. Like, that's what I thought. He's like, what? So I was like, I just name it after the artist that I hear do it. I'm like, that's the Maiden part. Like that's a Thin Lizzy part. You know, like that's
you know, a lot of that guitar playing would just not fit in your music.
No, I mean,
Steve Vai could not play your music.
It would sound so weird, man. It would sound like you know. I have a funny story about that. I was talking with Tom Morello about when he played with the E Street Band, and he was telling me how like a band like the E Street Band, that's all these these guys are like amazing. They can play like any song or whatever. Well, the tour that he did with them, they were covering a Clash song, like Clampdown. And he was like, trying to get these guys that are super freaking musicians to like play just a basic punk song, like Joe Strummer would, was like very foreign to them, and that's pretty, and that always stuck out to me. Like you're saying, it's like take Steve Vai, like Steve Vai works with freaking Zappa, like now try to put one of those guys to just play something simple, like, or that they didn't create. And I mean, I'm sure they can, but it's just, it comes out differently, like it's, obviously they can play it, but I can't play that.
Well, that's it. I've always wondered if Steve Vai could play, Back in Black the way it sounds on the record.
You know what? I bet he could, because he can copy anything, but he wouldn't because he's Steve Vai.
There you go. Exactly. Hey, wait a second though. Tom Morello played with the E Street Band?
Yes. Yeah. He played, he did some, I think he did it was like they did an EP with the Boss, and he went out as one of their guitar players for a tour, maybe like, I want to say 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. And he and I always bonded over our love of Springsteen. And it was funny because he ended up playing with the E Street Band. And, like one night, like I get like a call on the phone. It's like, I was like a Sunday night or something, like, and it was like late. I'm already watching TV, one whiskey in. He's just like, hey, I'm like, hello. I was like, we don't talk that much, I mean, we trade texts, but like, if he's calling me, it was like, all right, you're going to answer, it, like, what's going on? He goes, dude, I'm playing with the E Street Band. I'm like, for real? Like, yeah. He's like, how close are you to Pittsburgh? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like an hour. He's like, all right, I'm at the hotel here. Come down. I'm like when? Like now. I'm like, okay. So I was like, so I told my wife, I'm like, hey, I'm going to the hotel because Tom's playing with Springsteen. And she's just like, what? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. So we're gonna go do that. So yes, I went, we went down, and they played the next day because they do like every other day, like, like that's how that tour worked. And it was pretty cool. We went down there and, down the hotel, and, got to talk to some of the folks. The Boss, I didn't see the Boss. He came from another planet too. Not the same one Rush came from, just different.
But there's a perfect example of a guy who you wouldn't think could play Springsteen music.
Yeah, he was saying it, and he had to learn a hell of a catalog to go out on that tour. Now, the good thing is there's like 4 guitar players in Springsteen's band. He has like 4 of everything because he can do that.
Oh, it must be nice, eh?
Yeah, he said, but he's got Nils Lofgren, like, that guy is freaking incredible, so it's
absolutely is.
But yeah, absolutely. So he played with the E Street Band, and they did some really cool stuff. Like when I went and saw the show the next day, they, like they played a Clash song, where him and Tom sing back and forth, and they did they did the Ghost of Tom Joad, obviously that makes sense, and yeah, it was really, it was a great show. It was just all Springsteen's like, it's like the Kiss factor. Dude puts on a great show. Even if you don't like the music, it's like he's gonna give you everything in his super Springsteen power, for the next 3 hours of your life, which is pretty impressive. I think
it is. Yeah, I've never seen him.
Oh yeah,
seen him live.
It's worth it. The cool thing is, like, wherever he plays, he always brings out guest musicians. Like, so if he was whoever the big musicians are in the town that he plays in, he's going to have somebody come out for the encore. And it's cool. Like it could be Mike Ness from Social Distortion if he's in Southern California, or it could be, I caught him in Washington, D.C. once, and it was Jackson Browne and Bonnie Raitt. It was like, that's freaking, it's like, whoa, and which was pretty cool. So, like you never kind of, the shows are never exactly the same.
Right. And that's always a good thing too.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Couple more questions. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but let's talk about this Appalachian Apostle dude. What is the Apostle's message to the masses? Oh, that's badass.
Yeah, they come in 3 colors.
Oh my God, man. Classic.
We were on tour, especially down in Texas, where they have a lot of like the Catholic prayer candles, like in venues and stores and stuff. We would just leave one like wherever we would see like a pile of them. We were like a Walmart. We're like, dude, somebody go back out there and grab an Appalachian Apostle candle. We just put it in.
I wonder how many little old ladies have those things in their house.
They're probably trying to check out at the store with it and be like, this doesn't even ring up.
Just take it. Just take it.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. Well, actually, one of my friends, where I'm from, we played in Madison, Wisconsin one time, and a guy that grew up watching our punk band came out to the show. And after the show was over, he's like, dude, you're like the freaking Appalachian Apostle or something. I was like, I'm taking that. And he's like, yeah, take it, man. You know, and so, yeah, we just kind of make those videos of me doing stupid shit or, you know, just walking around. Cause I realize that I live a pretty absurd lifestyle, even though I think it's normal, like in, you know, the things that I do. And my friends that live in different city or in any city really, you know, tell me that like the things that I do aren't very normal. So we started just filming it on video, whether or not it's, you know, me walking, you know, out back, shooting my bow out of the you know, shooting arrows out of the top window of my house or, you know.
I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah. I have like I can shoot over the creek from my backyard. It's 30 yards and I can hit the archery target like below, like from shooting from our dining room, like down.
That's classic. That is awesome. Okay, so
the neighbors get
the Appalachian Apostle is basically do the shit you want.
Yeah.
And don't worry what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, it's kind of it's just sort of ridiculous. And honestly, the funny thing about it is it's where I live, it's pretty common. I just didn't realize it wasn't common everywhere else. Like I live in this place called like Greene County. Everybody does that shit here. So like I didn't realize that this wasn't like you know, this was like not a normal thing, you know, to walk around, you know, like with your rifle in the yard or. You know,
I can honestly say I've never done that.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. I was thinking one day I was trying to fix something on like one of my rifles, and I was like, my neighbor I know has a better vice than me because he races he races four-wheelers and I know he has like a lot of tools. So like I was like, so I'm walking over, like essentially carrying an assault rifle, I guess, down the road, you know, like just walking down to my neighbor's house so we can like fix it. And I'm like, hey man, you know, like, I was like, are you scared about the virus? He's like, I don't give a shit. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, cause I didn't want to, you know, be disrespectful and violate people's, you know, social distance or whatever. So like, yeah, he and I are in there, you know, working on like this rifle on his vice. And then I'm walking back down the road. I'm like, this is what my friends are telling me about. Like that wasn't something that would normally happen. And like nobody else is like, you know, the neighbor's pig gets out. It's like 400 pounds. I have to help him get it back in and stuff, you know?
Yeah, that's something you don't see up here. Walking down the street with a rifle in your hand here might get you in a little trouble.
Yeah. And you got to get the pig back in the thing. And it's like, yeah, it's just, you know, and shit, even I know like my buddies are like, I know like all the police officers, they'll come pull in my driveway and turn all the lights on and fuck with me. And I'll think like I'm in trouble. And I'm just like,
oh, you got to love it. You got to love it. One more question I want to ask you, and this is just because I'm a guitar geek. You're playing a really sexy Dean in that video, I'll Talk.
Oh, which one's that? The V one?
It's kind of a V, yeah. Is that like a dime guitar? Dime bag?
Let me pull it out here.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a Dean Z. It's a Z79. They or a V79. It's made after their 79 version of it. It's just it's like their version of a flying V. And I modded it. It's got like super distortions. Of course, it has my name. In honor of Danny Gatton, I even have little cubic zirconias fret markers and stuff.
Sweet.
Yeah,
that's a nice looking guitar, man.
You know what? Ever since we started working with Dean, you know, honestly, I haven't played any of my Gibsons. You know, I didn't want to be a person that took like a guitar endorsement and then like, you know, you use it in pictures and then you don't use it, you know, behind the scenes. You know, like I wanted stuff that I actually use. So, you know, I sat down with our artist rep, and prior to working with them, you know, I used a ES330 hollow body. So Dean, the closest thing they have to that is the Dean Colt, which is like it's more like a Gretsch White Falcon. So I got that, put single coil in it, and to replace my one Les Paul. I ended up using this V, you know, which kind of, and then so like each one, like I kind of specifically picked, and I ended up, it was cool. They ended up not being just like replacements for my Gibsons. They ended up actually being like their own thing that I like and incorporated, you know, into our sound. Like this guitar is extremely light, and usually my guitars weigh like 1,000 pounds. Like the white their Dean Cold is really heavy, and but yeah, it's cool, man. I really, this is one of my favorites. This one's tuned. I do most of our drop D songs live that aren't slide. I have a whole separate slide guitar. So anything that's not slide, but other than the mods I did on the base of it is just a stock Dean Z79 pretty much.
I'm thinking if you're not playing those Gibsons, I got a place you could send a couple.
I'm not getting rid of those yet. Not till I have to make payments, because I still have a suite. I love them, you know. Like there's, you know, I play my I practice on my ES330 a lot, but I'll tell you what, taking that out of the house is also kind of like, you know, you get into big money guitars like that. It kind of freaks me out a little bit under the conditions that we tour in, you know, and me standing on a beer keg, you know, holding that guitar. I'm always like, if I freaking fall and dust this guitar, you know, like
that right there just sums up Scattered Hamlet to me.